Hi there. To commemorate the 100-year anniversary of World War I this November the 11th, I'm going to read to you the poem My Boy Jack by Rudyard Kipling, and then we're going to discuss what it's about and go from there. Okay. So, My Boy Jack. Have you news of my boy Jack? Not this tide. When do you think that he'll come back? Not with this wind blowing and this tide. Has anyone else had word of him? Not this tide, for what is sunk will hardly swim, not with this wind blowing and this tide. Oh dear, what comfort can I find? None this tide, nor any tide, except he did not shame his kind, not even with that wind blowing and that tide. Then hold your head up all the more, this tide and every tide, because he was the son you bore, and gave to that wind blowing and that tide. So there is some debate about how the poem originated. Some people believe that the poem is a generic one towards soldiers in the Navy who died. Others believe that Kipling wrote the poem about his own son John, who had died in France. It is also important to note that this poem was constructed in England, and therefore the tide and the wind that is referred to in the poem is actually referring to the English Channel, where soldiers from Britain sailed over to France to fight in the war. The poem itself is constructed as a dialogue of a parent desperately trying to find out any information about their son. This is very similar to Kipling's story, where he was also searching for the loss of his son John, him and his wife. It actually took them 2 years to find out what had happened to him. Like Kipling, many families eventually discovered that their sons had also been killed in the war. The verse beginning with, "What comfort can I find?" is a parent searching for some way to justify their son's death. The response that is given to the parent is that there will never be any comfort with the loss of their child, but that they can still be proud of their son because he served his country and fought for their freedoms. And that is why the parent can then hold their head up all the more every day, because he was their son and he sacrificed his life for them. Now, having listened to a first account poem about the consequences of war, in this particular poem, the consequences being families losing their children, I would like you to create your own poem, in whatever format you like, about a war. It can be any war. You can take it from your own perspective and talk about your feelings about war and the sacrifices made by those who fought in them. You can tackle your poem as a thank you to those that gave their lives and what that has meant for you. Or perhaps you want to write a poem about what you think war is. It is open for you to choose from, and you can tackle it however you like.